There's really no one in Shanghai anymore. Before, when it came to Shanghai's pedestrian streets on weekends, oh my god, it was impossible to move. All I saw were heads. Now look at this. Good heavens, it's just security guards and shop owners everywhere. And it feels like you can't even hit anyone with throwing a stick. It's terrifying. Before, there were always queues along Guangxi North Road and Nanjing East Road, but now it's completely empty. The rent is too high, and the tenants are under too much pressure, and it's all vacant. In early 2026, the neon lights of Nanjing East Road and Huaihai Road in Shanghai still flicker. However, if you shift your gaze from the main roads to the side streets, you'll see a dense array of shop-for-rent advertisements. The shopping malls that were once packed with shops are now sparsely populated and exceptionally deserted. Data shows that the average vacancy rate for Grade A office buildings and high-end shopping malls in Shanghai has reached 23%. Even in prime business districts, rents continue to decline month on month. A bubble tea shop owner in Shanghai who had operated the business for 5 years said upon closing his last branch, "Don't open a shop. Absolutely don't open one. It's not that money is hard to earn now, it's that people simply don't intend to spend it. Even the wealthy are tightening their purse strings." It's a little past 7 p.m. now. I took a stroll along Guangming Street to take a look. There are very few people around. It really proves the saying, keeping a shop is harder than being a widow. It's completely empty. How can anyone do business here? There's no one left. Let me show you the current state of the street at around 7 p.m. This is actually the Demei shopping center in People's Square, Shanghai. It used to be a mecca for Shanghai's trendy scene, known to almost every 90s kid. In today's terms, it was a must-visit spot for young people with foot traffic rivaling that of Nanjing Road. Returning this time, I was surprised to find that all the shops closed, leaving the place desolate and deserted. The security guard told me there's a new Demei ahead, but you have to walk 250 meters to it. I'm curious to see what the new Demei is like. The blogger said that upon arriving there, she found it was almost entirely anime-themed, filled with anime merchandise and costumes, as if they were trying to revive the business with this emerging industry. However, business remained sluggish with virtually no customers. The blogger couldn't help but sigh. What goes around comes around. Shops that were bustling with activity in previous years are now deserted. This isn't just happening in Shanghai. Other cities are likely experiencing similar waves of closures. A rural couple spent $430,000 on a house in Shanghai, but are facing layoffs and pay cuts. They're considering selling their old house in their hometown to hold on to their small, rundown apartment in Shanghai. Is it worth it? After 20 years in Shanghai, they bought this 72 square meter apartment, thinking they had finally settled down. But before they could even enjoy the property, he was laid off and she received a pay cut. The $1,400 monthly mortgage payment suddenly became a death sentence. As their bank account balance dwindled, they panicked. If they couldn't increase their income, they feared they would lose the Shanghai apartment. They tossed and turned at night, unable to sleep. They considered defaulting on the mortgage and returning to their hometown, but they were reluctant to let 20 years of hard work go to waste. They decided to sell their house in their hometown. Hopefully, they could scrape together 3 years' worth of mortgage payments and hold out until the market recovers. The blogger said that their house in their hometown was their last resort. If they sold it, their child would have to go back to the countryside for school, potentially repeating their past mistakes. But if they didn't sell, they would risk defaulting on their mortgage. She sighed helplessly. Who understands this kind of heartache? Have you noticed? Shanghai is completely changed. I feel like Shanghai is quietly becoming poorer. Many people said they loved Shanghai before the new year, but after the new year, they packed their suitcases and left. Recently, I called some friends who came to Shanghai with me, wanting to get together, but I found out they had gone back to their hometowns. He said that an $860 salary in Shanghai is the norm, rent is $300, and food and drinks are $300. Basically, they're broke by the end of the month, and they can't afford to go out. It really is an era of consumption downgrade. $2 fast food has become a lifeline for adults. The blogger lamented that before, every evening, shopping malls were bustling with young people socializing and dining. But now there are more shops than customers, and the whole street feels deserted. Has Shanghai itself changed, or have young people just figured things out?
27岁沪漂女生已婚未育。
A 27-year-old married woman with no children working in Shanghai is having difficulty finding a job. Hi everyone, I've been unemployed for 4 months now, since July. I've been working in administration for over 5 years since graduation, but now I find that this seemingly stable position is closing its doors on me. As I get older, continuing in administration is really unrealistic. Even HR says they prefer recent graduates for administrative positions. I've always known this, but facing reality still makes me a little panicked. Lately, I've tried stepping out of my comfort zone and applying for some seemingly unrelated jobs. In the comments section, a netizen commented, "A friend of mine also works in HR. She said that if an applicant is married with no children, it's practically a rejection. The interview ends there. There's no need to continue." Have you noticed a strange phenomenon? Shanghai seems much less crowded than before. When I went downstairs to eat, the restaurants on the entire street were completely empty. The market vendor said the number of shops have halved, and delivery drivers are even more bewildered. They used to handle 50 orders a day, but now they don't even get 20. From Shanghai to Chengdu, from the south to the north, everyone's saying people have disappeared. Where have all these hundreds of millions of people gone? Going to the mall on the weekend, the bubble tea shops that used to have long queues are empty, movie theater screenings have been cut in half, and breakfast stalls and barbershops downstairs in my neighborhood are posting for sale signs one after another. The blogger says that even the Shanghai subway isn't crowded during rush hour anymore. Seats that used to be fiercely contested are now easy to find. Some guess it's because migrant workers have all gone back to their hometowns, but a friend from a small town says, "Our malls are deserted too. It's so quiet you can only walk your dog there."
上海刚买房的我
I just bought a house in Shanghai, and now my company is facing another round of layoffs. Near the end of the workday today, my colleague next to me suddenly told me he'd been laid off, and tomorrow was his last day. My heart skipped a beat. I suddenly felt scared. We joined the company around the same time and have worked together for over 2 years. He was laid off just like that, and I felt a sense of danger for myself. Because I'm breastfeeding, I'm relatively safe for now. Every year, at the end of the year, the company undergoes personnel changes, starting with layoffs. To reduce costs and increase efficiency, the company established a subsidiary in Wuhan. New hires are all made in Wuhan because labor costs are relatively lower. The number of people in Shanghai will only decrease. The blogger frankly admitted that she's still very worried because she and her husband just bought a house in Shanghai, have a large mortgage, and are expecting a baby. Her monthly salary is $2,700 and her husband's is $2,300. If she loses her job, their family income will suddenly decrease, which is undoubtedly a huge risk for a family.
我被裁了，84年41岁。
I was laid off, born in 1984, 41 years old, middle-aged, female. These 3 labels combined, those who know, know. But I'm not here to wallow in misery. I want to talk about how I swam ashore from identity despair when the multinational company I'd worked for 18 years sank. In 2007, I joined a foreign bank as a management trainee. Along the way, I experienced highs and lows, working my way up from the front lines to the largest branch at the time, becoming a branch manager and managing over 580 million in assets. I also experienced lows, working in the back office and risk control. Initially, I felt wronged. After all, I'd worked at the company for 18 years and being laid off so suddenly was disheartening. However, as I walked out of the company gates, I suddenly understood. The end of one journey also signifies the beginning of another. After leaving, I took 2 months off to experience life's changes and reflect on my future. Being laid off doesn't represent failure, it's simply a helpless measure taken by companies during a downturn. If we can get through the cold winter, hope may be just around the corner.
现在在上海挣钱有多难呢？
How hard is it to make money in Shanghai now? Everyone used to say Shanghai was a gold mine, but yesterday I bought a multigrain pancake and chatted with the vendor. He said the crackdowns are really strict now, probably because the end of the year. The day before yesterday, he earned $20 but was fined $30. I said, "Is it that bad?" He said, "Yeah, there's nothing I can do. Not only did I lose money, but I also had to pay out of pocket." Then I said, "Could you rent a shop? That would be safer so you can focus on making money." He said no because he asked about a very small shop and the rent in Shanghai would be $860, excluding utilities. Blogger Yu said that with this calculation, the daily cost is $30, which isn't enough to cover the earnings. It's basically working for the landlord. Yu asked the stall owner if he could run away when the city management officers came to inspect. Wouldn't it be easier if he could? He said no, there's no way to escape. There are people blocking his way from both sides. Yu exclaimed that it was too difficult. The stall owner said he lost his job in middle age, has elderly parents and young children to support, and he is supporting 2 kids in school. He was forced to set up a stall to make a living. Hearing his words, Yu felt particularly distressed. Our midlife crisis seems to have come earlier than others. My husband and I are both 42. I've been a full-time homemaker for over 3 years, and my husband has spent half his time working and half resting for the past 2 years. We also have 2 children in elementary school. Many people want us to go back to our hometown. We've been living in Shanghai for over a decade, and it hasn't been easy. Now we've paid off our Shanghai mortgage ourselves. My husband got our family of 4 Shanghai residency through a talent recruitment program. He took early retirement from his company, and his monthly income is enough to cover our basic expenses. We're not at the age where we can just relax, but jobs are really hard to find. Setting up a street stall? I'm afraid of the hardship. Opening a shop? I'm afraid of losing money. Blogger Nan said her husband occasionally works as a food delivery driver, hoping to earn some extra money and relax a bit, but he only completed a few orders in one morning. Actually, her mother-in-law had always been against it because her husband's uncle had an accident while riding an electric scooter in Shanghai a couple of years ago, and the family was always a little worried. In contrast, Nan was quite calm, treating it as her husband going out to clear his head. She actually admired her husband for having the courage to deliver food. Why are there so few Shanghainese people in downtown Shanghai now? It's even rare to see Shanghainese spoken there. This is the Confucius Temple area in Shanghai. It used to be very lively, but now large areas have been demolished, and you can hardly see anyone on the streets. This is Xiaoning Road, once a street famous for its crayfish. It used to be bustling from dinner time until the early hours of the next morning, but it was demolished many years ago. Around Xintiandi in Shanghai, there are many old houses, and almost all the original residents have been relocated. In the newly built residential area in Xintiandi, Shanghainese people only make about 20% to 30% of the population. In Shanghai, how is a family of 3 surviving a budget of $430 after both being laid off and experiencing pay cuts? With their living expenses dropping from $3,000, our family of 3 currently lives in a small apartment of less than 60 square meters in Shanghai. My husband previously worked in the internet industry, and I work in administration. Due to the economic climate of the past 2 years, we both experienced 2 rounds of layoffs this year, resulting in a 30% pay cut. What worries us even more is that for the past 6 months, our household income has been consistently negative. Our salaries are delayed, but we haven't received them yet. Facing a monthly mortgage payment of $1,150 and our child's $580 tutoring fee, our monthly expenses are still $1,700, even if we don't eat or drink. Since our salary stopped, aside from seasonal clothing for our child, our personal expenses have been virtually zero. After 3 years working in Shanghai, I haven't made a single new friend besides my colleagues. I used to find the routine of going back and forth between the company and my rented apartment quite comfortable, but this year I suddenly feel like I've been rusted. I might only exchange one sentence all day at work, just a quick "excuse me" when I get off the subway. I really want to ask everyone who came to Shanghai from other places for work, how do you make friends besides your colleagues? I came to Shanghai from Guizhou almost 3 years ago, and since then, I haven't met any new people besides my colleagues, let alone formed any friendships. Over the past few days, I've noticed fewer and fewer people on the streets of Shanghai. I went to the city god temple today, and it was practically empty. When I came in 2018, it was packed. There were incredibly long queues for steamed buns. I've realized it's true. Shanghai's economy probably isn't as good as it used to be. I even miss my beloved Chongqing a little. What can I do? But now it's really come to this, and I can't back down. Chinese New Year is coming soon, so I guess I'll have to stay in Shanghai this year. Another failed interview. I had one last week and it went pretty well, but I still didn't pass. I casually asked the HR why I didn't get it, but he said it was a company secret. It's really heartbreaking, frustrating, and ridiculous all at once. The job market in Shanghai is just too surreal. To be honest, I'm really struggling lately. They say the more setbacks you face, the stronger you become, but failing interview after interview makes you start to doubt yourself. Sometimes I wonder if it's because I'm not capable enough, or because I'm getting old, or if the job market is just really that bad. The sky is falling again. With such a large population loss, what's the point of trying to achieve a soft landing for housing prices? If you've seen the recent record lows in marriage and birth rates, at this rate, our country's population might plummet to 500 million by 2045. Without a large population, who will buy these houses? If no one is buying, what's the point of maintaining housing prices? I work in the loan facilitation industry in Shanghai, and the average price has dropped significantly from before. But the number of new home purchases is extremely low. I think the most urgent task is to maintain the population. Only by maintaining the population can housing prices be maintained. What do you all think? Comments below. Have you noticed that there are fewer and fewer people in Shanghai this year? There are plenty of apartments that can't be rented out. The streets aren't as crowded as before. Sometimes they even feel rather deserted. The more popular jobs are probably ride-hailing, Didi, and food delivery, but the pay isn't actually that high. A monthly salary of $1,400 in Shanghai after deducting utilities and rent isn't much. Do you think we still have a chance in Shanghai like this? I have almost no friends left for a simple reason. I'm unemployed. A person without a job doesn't deserve social interaction. They lack the confidence to speak up. I decided to start making videos because I was so lonely and bored. I wanted to find others who were also at a low point in their lives, and I wanted to use the camera to remind myself to eat properly, avoid staying up late, and live a normal life, no matter how tough things get. These videos will be my true survival diary, no script, no acting, just a genuine record of how an ordinary person in the darkest of days slowly pulls themselves back up. That's all for today. If you enjoy our content, please give us a thumbs up, subscribe, leave a comment, and share it with a friend. We appreciate your support, and we'll see you next time.